Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny, the customer service representatives for butt stuff. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Didn't see that coming. Wow.
You know, I just wanted to say, I don't know if we've talked about butts enough recently, but if anybody's questioning where our allegiance resides...
I thought you were going to say where our hearts were.
Well, that's where our hearts are too.
Our hearts are with the butts.
It's still with butts.
So, Trevin,
Yes.
What is your dreadful dilemma this week?
So I have a dreadful dilemma that could easily be a lot of people's dreadful dilemma. You see, people have been saying, what do you think podcasts need to have more of? And people say, well, we want people to talk politics more, obviously.
Oh, do they say that?
And they say, you guys should be doing that more and being more topical. So first, I just want to say this whole college forgiveness thing.
The college forgiveness loans?
Yes.
Oh, hell.
A lot of people are pretty upset about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really sorry that it's not quite going the way that we thought it was going to. We were told this, like 2 years ago?
Yes.
It doesn't really affect me, but I still feel for all my fellow humans out there that were hoping for some forgiveness.
Oh, yeah. I wanted every last bit of forgiveness.
Oh, you still paying?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. So I just wanted to say, hey, everybody, I'm sorry that it's turned out this way and it really sucks. It's totally unfair. I just wanted to formally address you all that are feeling upset, and I want to try to help. Look, I know you were hoping to be forgiven for going to college. I was hoping you would be too. But why do you want forgiveness from a rich old white man who never had to pay for his education anyway? I know I'm just a nobody, but I forgive you. To all of the frat guys who swallowed their pride to butt chug an entire Coors Light, I forgive you. To the studious types who sold pictures of their feet in order to afford class books, I forgive you as well. To those that survived purely on Taco Bell, Monster, and poor self-talk, I especially forgive you. You see, I too regret most of what I did in college, but I found a way to make the best of it. I'm sure you frat guys were pretty proud of yourselves when you were able to fit 20 ounces of beer as cold as the Rockies in your rectum. And the measures you took for survival during this time of higher education showed just how resilient you are. Sure, you picked up some bad habits and went through some strange phases, but look at you now. You gained experience, and now you're out taking on the world. I may not be the president, but no matter what things you look back on disapprovingly, I want you to know that I forgive you. And I hope that you will one day forgive yourself. So I just felt that everybody needed to hear that during this time.
I was trying to determine which category I resided in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was the Taco Bell category. I don't know. But thank you for forgiving me. But yeah, Trevin, I think we all deserve a little bit more forgiveness than just that.
I guess you're right. I tried my best for you guys.
I thought maybe, just maybe, that little segment would do it for me, but I think I'm going to need a little more.
Well, then let's keep hoping, I guess.
So I also have a dreadful dilemma this week. As you know, I'm not sure how much I've really talked about it on the podcast, but I would consider myself a plant mother of sorts, a plant girl.
I guess you haven't really talked about it much on the show.
Yeah. So I have a little garden. I try to do a garden every year, every summer. It's usually a salsa garden where it has tomatoes, onions. I grow different herbs, cilantro, basil, all these cool things just on my deck. I'm not a professional farmer, okay?
Right.
But I do love my plants, and I do have a few of them. But I think I might have taken things to another level.
Uh-oh.
And I'm here to fully admit this to the world. So the other day, I was out looking at my plants, and it's at least known by Jordan and our 2 kids that I occasionally talk to the plants. And I've told the girls, it's good to talk to the plants because the plants give us something we need to breathe, and we give the plants something they need to breathe. So that's like fine and whatever, kind of weird.
I remember in elementary school, they talked about that a lot to us.
See, so I'm always chatting it up. So I talk to these plants, I water them, whatever. But the other day, I found myself in a full-on convo with these depressed, grumpy-looking plants because it had just rained on them. And they were like slunched over and looking all pissy, right?
Right.
And I found myself having an argument slightly. And I literally said the words out loud, Trevin. I was looking at them and I was like, get it together, guys. And that's when I knew.
Is that because their advice was shitty?
No, they were just looking at me like all pissed off about the rain. And it's like, dude, you live in perfect conditions, okay? I take care of you so well. You're thriving. You're beautiful. Everything is going to be okay. We just had a little bit of a rain. And I was just like, get it together. And just the way they were looking at me. And then
you were trying to motivate them.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's when it hit me, though, that maybe I've gotten a little too personally connected to my plants.
That's true.
I mean, it's a little weird to tell them to get it together, right? I don't know.
Do you guys ever have times where you just aren't really speaking? Like you're not really on good terms?
We haven't had a full-on convo since the incident.
Oh, no.
Which it was just the other day. Maybe that is what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not the most healthy thing as far as keeping relationships together, that you tell them to fix themselves and then ghost. I think the healthy thing would be to be there for your friend and help them find their way back to their full potential again.
Wow.
If you can't take them at their slumpy, green, dying plant, then you don't deserve them at their salsa breeding, beautiful green plant.
Oh my God. You know what, Trevin? Preach.
Thank you.
Okay, our 2 dreadful dilemmas literally turned into both of us telling each other to get it together, basically.
Pretty much.
And I love it. I was like, no, dude, that's not going to cover it. And you were like, no, you need to stop ghosting your plants.
Yeah.
So now we know what to do.
You're just asking to see how much lower their rock bottom can go.
So true. So, Trevin.
Yeah.
This week we are going to be doing a round of top 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Top 5.
We show is. And this week is my week to go first.
Okay, I was wondering.
I didn't think
remember.
we talked about that. Yeah. And I've got a top 5 that I find to be quite interesting. I almost thought about taking each one of these individually and talking about them as different killer facts. But then I was like, no, let's just dump all of this off on one great segment and we'll just challenge me later to come up with more material.
I'm in.
So I'm going to give you the top 5 most weird and mysterious diseases.
Okay.
So, coming to you from MacadiMed.net. Number 5. Congenital insensitivity to pain.
Oh, no.
This disease is presented from birth, which inhibits the ability to perceive physical pain. So basically, people with this condition can feel the distinction between a sharp and a dull object and something cold and hot. However, one cannot sense that a hot beverage is already burning them.
Oh my God.
They say there is no cure for it, and other symptoms include loss of smell and decreased ability to sweat, which is odd.
Huh, that is affecting a lot of different things.
It just sounds like that's a really good way to get yourself hurt if you don't realize you're hurting at the time.
For sure.
Number 4 is foreign accent syndrome.
Oh.
Foreign accent syndrome stems from a damage in the part of the brain associated with speech. This happens when a person suddenly wakes up speaking in a different accent. It is commonly caused by stroke, trauma, tumors, and other neurological conditions. The most common treatment would be speech therapy to help a person bring back their normal speaking ways. Emily and I were talking about this one earlier, and she was like, well, how does a person just magically know how to speak in, like, all the inflections? And my thought was, we've seen movies and TV shows, so I'm assuming that if there's any word that you don't know, you're probably filling in the blank with something wacky.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah. I talked about how a guy hit his head while diving in a pool and learned how to play the piano before, but I've heard of stories about the accents. And every time I've heard a story about it, it's not like, hey, they used to live in this country and then they had a trauma to their head and then they learned the accent. It just kind of came out of nowhere. So, yeah, maybe it's from movies. Maybe, I mean, we all at least know of other accents, but it is weird that after these injuries, you can like perfect them almost.
Yeah.
Like naturally.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
The brain's holding a lot of stuff we don't know about. Number 3, you've actually done a killer fact on this before, but callback to the walking corpse syndrome.
Oh, yeah. Because I did that one and I did Cotard syndrome.
That's the same thing.
Oh, it's the same thing. Okay, yes, I remember this one.
It makes people believe that they are dead or missing their soul, organs, blood, or specific body parts. Syndrome is usually a symptom of another psychiatric condition rather than a disease of its own. Symptoms include self-harm, becoming speechless, thinking you're immortal, or already a dead body walking around, voices telling you that you're dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds horrific.
Number 2, persistent sexual arousal syndrome. This is also called persistent genital arousal syndrome. Causes people to live perpetually at the brink of an orgasm.
What?
The sensations are partially relieved through orgasm, but may return suddenly within a few hours. It can lead to constant physical pain, stress, and physiological difficulties due to an inability to carry out everyday tasks. Patients may suffer from anxiety, depression, distress, frustration, guilt, and panic attacks. Treatment is usually by the most popular therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So they think that they can help with that. But that sounds to me like a sensitivity thing and not just a mental thing. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. When you said that, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe the solution is some sort of a surgery or some sort of a nerve medication or something.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's in the brain?
Yeah, that's odd. Maybe it is just it's like you need therapy if you're always about to squirt. And then number 1. Auto-brewery syndrome. Auto-brewery syndrome, also known as the gut fermentation syndrome, is a strange medical condition where a person experiences intoxication from alcohol through abnormal gut fermentation in the small intestines caused by an overgrowth of specific types of fungus. The gut produces alcohol out of regular food and drinks containing carbs, yeast, or bacteria that thrive in the part of the body. Not only can you get randomly drunk, but symptoms include aches and pains, including the stomach, bloating, changes in bowel movements, fatigue, nasal discharge, problems with concentration, memory, and thought processes, probably because you're drunk.
Yeah, right.
And sugar cravings, also because you're drunk.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be odd to just be like, oh, I ate a loaf of bread and now I'm drunk?
You know, when you take a step back at all of these and you're like, feeling randomly drunk, that might be fun. Or, ooh, on the cusp of an orgasm at any moment. Woohoo, look at me.
I know some people that wish they had that right now.
But if you're experiencing this completely out of control and continuously, yes, I could see how that would be a severe problem.
Yeah, like it's funny to us because it's so weird and out there. But like definitely not making fun of anybody that would have this. This sounds like a nightmare.
No.
Every single one of those sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because that would change the way that you live your life in so many different ways. If you have this auto brewery thing, and they didn't really say how to fix that, imagine the diet you probably have to eat.
Right.
You have a very specific diet. The orgasm thing sounds rough. Walking dead corpse thing. I don't even know how you could have a day job with that.
No, I don't know how you could have a day job with any of these.
That's a good point.
I mean, my God.
Honestly, the fermentation one's probably the easiest one to live with if it's just a diet that you have a very good control over.
Yeah. God, I know. I'm like, what do you have to eat all the time, though, to counteract an internal brewery? That is insane. I have never heard of that before, ever. So, wow. I'm curious if any of our listeners know anyone who has any of that. I just want to know more.
I mean, I know all these are rare, but I don't know just how rare. No, it didn't say statistically.
They're probably pretty damn rare. Damn, well, great job.
Thank you.
I also have a top 5 for everyone today. It was inspired by my recent visit to the local aquarium here in town. I took my family and Oh my God, Trevin, there is just nothing like taking a kid to an aquarium. Like the awe-struck look on both of their faces. My little one, Winnie, every time a fish went by, she was trying to grab it through the glass. It was just the cutest thing ever.
Is this the aquarium that's over there by Legos, Lego place?
Yeah, Crown Center. I was inspired because it was the first time that we've gone to this aquarium where they had an octopus there to look at.
Oh, I love octopi.
Whoo! So I've never actually seen one in the flesh before. So I almost felt like a child myself because I was just so in awe of it. But it was like a gigantic octopus in this tank all by itself. And it was so funny because when we first got there, it was just moving, all slow and weird, like in this little corner. But as soon as we started gathering around, my husband, Jordan, was like, oh, this thing is flexing on us hard because it started extending its legs and one of them unfurled all the way out. And then it was suctioning its other legs on the glass in front of us and unsuctioning it. And then it would ball up and then it would just go, whoo! It was putting on a show for us. Yeah. So I got a couple pictures of it. Maybe I'll post those online because I got it with the one arm fully stretching out. And it was so weird, but it got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I wanted to discuss the top 5 largest squid.
Okay. The Kraken's number 1, right?
The Kraken! So, I am coming from an article called AmericanOceans.org. And like I say, almost every single time we give an article a shout out, definitely go and read about it if you want to know more, because there's so much that I can't even get into. So, starting at number 5, we have the Humboldt squid. Also known as the jumbo squid or the flying squid, the Humboldt squid is a large active predator that can grow 8 feet long and reach 100 pounds. Coming in at number 4 is the robust clubhook squid. Mainly found in the northern Pacific Ocean, this squid lives at depths ranging from 100 to 1,700 feet. It is the largest of all hooked squid and grows up to 110 pounds and reaches lengths over 13 feet. Here is a woman laying next to one.
They look so much less scary when they're not in the water.
Yes, it kind of does. Yeah, it's all flat and gross and ugh. Moving on to number 3, the Dana octopus squid. My, is she a looker, Trevin.
Uh-oh.
She can weigh up to 355 pounds.
Whoa.
So it's more of a hefty one, but still, these can only grow up to about 7 feet long. Let me show you a quick picture here.
It looks like the swamp thing. So your 5 and 4 were both in the 100 to 110 range, and now we've just tripled it going to number 3.
Yes. So moving on to number 2, and let me tell you, these next ones are freaky. Number 2 is the giant squid. It is the longest of all the squids, okay? Maybe not the biggest, but it is the longest.
So not girth, we're just talking length.
Exactly.
Okay.
So these deep sea creatures can reach lengths of up to 60 feet, Trevin.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine that.
Weighing on average close to 600 pounds. So that is freaking terrifying. Here is a photo.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. So you said 60 feet. The other one we just did was...
That one was only 7.
We doubled the weight, but the length is so much more.
Oh God, so much more. And that is the longest one.
Okay.
Now, the grand finale...
The gianter squid.
...is number 1. The colossal squid.
Oh man, that's even better.
Dude, the names. These squid have been recorded to reach a maximum of up to 46 feet. Okay, so it's no 60. However, reaching up to 1,100 pounds. These are definitely the heaviest squids out of all of them.
That is so heavy.
But these things are freaky as hell, you guys. The eyeballs on all of these squid are just peering into the depths of my soul, and I just don't want it.
This is one of those ones where it's got one of the pointy heads where the body is actually longer than the legs.
Yes. I'm going to find some better pictures. Great article. The pictures are a little interesting to me. When I make the post online, and I'm sure we'll make a little video of it, I'll find better pictures.
And I will also put the link, just because this one's kind of similar to the dog one. We talk about their looks a lot. I'll put both of our articles in the show notes too.
Yeah, totally. So you can get a better look.
Yeah.
I know I am so known to do visual stuff, guys. Please just bear with me.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
So you know what else we should talk about, Trevin?
The economy.
That and some ads.
I'd choose the ads.
And we're back. And Trevin, do you have a petty crime to tell us all today?
I have a petty crime for you guys. And this one, I haven't done a sexy story in a while.
Oh my God.
But our listener Eric sent me this.
Nice.
And he's like, I don't know if you can do this. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to make myself do this.
Oh my God.
So this is one of my more edgier ones. So this is a little bit of a warning.
Oh, so what is this rated?
I'm not going to have full penetration or anything.
So this isn't rated XXX?
It's not rated AAA. I just haven't done one of these stories in a while. And so I'm just feeling a little shy about it.
I get it.
So let's just jump into this thing and hide your kids. And here we go. I hope you all don't mind, but I'm going to get a little taboo with you. Today, we're going to be talking about other people's sex lives. Oh gosh, it feels so weird approaching the subject in this format. I know that a lot of my prologues lean on observational humor, but telling this in this style makes me sound like a pervert. If I had brought this up in a stand-up set, no one would have batted an eye. Maybe I'll try that.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Trevin!
Hey, thanks for coming out, everybody. Okay, I'm just going to get right into it because this is a really dumb bit. How many of you out there tonight have one of those friends? You know what I'm talking about?
What is he talking about?
One of those freaky friends? Let me tell you right away, if you can't think of who your freaky friend is, then you're probably the freaky friend. Anyway, the freaky friend is always coming around, sharing what new food they introduced into the bedroom or which public place they decide to whip out their bits. And here you are feeling pretty wild yourself because you had sex on a Monday night this week. Regular old missionary with your clothes on. It was just so sexy how spontaneous it was, moving sex night from Tuesday to Monday. You've been a great audience. Tip your bartenders. See, that felt a little more fitting. So with the groundwork laid by my stand-up comedy impression, let's continue. It doesn't have to be just a freaky friend that brings these feelings on. Sex is so ingrained in our culture that you can't help but know about other people's sex lives. The tabloid websites are posting nudes from hacked cell phones. TikTokers are sharing steamy lovemaking secrets that would make Hugh Hefner blush.
Heavens to Betsy!
And hip-hop artists are putting their nasty-ass exploits directly in their lyrics.
I took a lipstick and put it on my butthole. Cause she was talking that shit, yeah.
With examples like this, you can't help but feel a little bland. And before I go further into this prologue, I am in no way kink-shaming anyone. Just, with my recent work on healing my body image issues, I realize how easily the media and pop culture can manipulate and create trends. We are presented with the most perfect representations of everything through TV, movies, and social apps. The perfect bodies, the perfect careers, the perfect vacations, the perfect partners. We can't help but compare ourselves to all of these magnificent examples of life. I'll be the first to tell you that I'm dealing with body image issues, and you all know how I feel about my career, but I'm completely happy within my relationship. However, even a TikTok about a partner surprising their significant other with a date can make me feel like either I'm not doing enough, or Emily needs to step up her game and treat me a bit more like a queen.
The bubble bath is ready, Your Highness.
The sex comparison is no different. Which brings me to our story. Harold was a man of simple pleasures. He liked waking up with the sun, a well-manicured lawn, and listening to orchestral music at an appropriate volume.
Now this is the real shit.
There was just something about the small excitements of life that brought a huge thrill to Harold. Some saw Harold's plain lifestyle as a matter of preference, while others speculated that his personal life was kept boring in order to balance the stress of his day job. You see, not only was Harold the tri-state area's foremost expert on pigeons, but he was also a local police officer. From 9 to 5, Harold was wearing a badge, kicking ass, and taking names.
And is that Jeff with a J or that weird one with an E and an O?
Every workday was a non-stop panic attack for 8 solid hours. At the start of each day, he never knew if he was going to have to talk to a stranger with an attitude or disarm a bomb. There was no telling what form trouble would take in Waukesha, Wisconsin. But even though Harold was a John Wick on the streets, he was a bit of a Mr. Rogers in the sheets. At the end of every shift at the cop building, Harold would walk in, covered in the blood of his enemies, and take a long, animalistic sigh, only to punch out his police card and spring into a completely different demeanor. "Gee golly, you guys, I sure had a swell day at work," Harold yelled to the rest of the tough precinct. "I'm off to wash the drug dealer's blood off my shirt." Harold was the perfect example of a person who doesn't take their work home with them. Not only does the stress stay back, but the allure of his personality stayed with his job too. Being a badass cop with the name Harold, his tough cop friends called him Dirty Harry. But if you asked Harold's wife, Harold was far from dirty. "Hey, Dirty Harry, before you go," Detective Kimball called out. "We're just having some locker room guy talk over here. I wondered if you'd want to weigh in with a real man's opinion." Harold stopped and acknowledged the group of macho dudes procrastinating going home to their wives. As Kimball went on, "Jimmy is sharing his uninformed opinion that he believes women can have orgasms, while I'm trying to tell him that I humped with 12 women this week and not one had an orgasm. Trust me, if there's an orgasm to be found, I would have found it already. Back me up, old dirty." As Kimball waited for a response, the rest of the crowd's attention turned to Harold. He could feel his cheeks flush from embarrassment. He had never heard the O word so many times in one sentence. Before he could get the strength to speak, Harold turned around and bolted out the door. Another officer slapped Detective Kimball on the arm with the intent to scold. "What the hell, man? You know Dirty Harry is a completely different person after he's off work." Back at home, Harold walked into his house, took off his shoes, and put on his house cardigan. "Welcome home, Harold," his wife Bonnie said, as she walked into the kitchen. She began pulling out the ingredients for the evening's dinner, while Harold ironed his cop shirt for the next day. "You know, the guys shared the wildest conversation as I was trying to leave," Harold yelled over the sound of hot steam straightening fabric. "Kimball and the other guys were having an argument on whether or not women can have, He stopped, feeling the explicitness of his conversation jolting him away from continuing. "What's the matter, dear?" Bonnie asked, wondering what could be the matter. Harold stammered on, before finally getting the vile word out of his mouth. "Orgasms! The guys were having a debate on whether or not women can have, orgasms." Bonnie lost her balance, falling into the countertop and knocking some plates together. She brought her right hand up to her chest and felt the racing of her beating heart. "I haven't heard that word in 13 years, she said to herself, firmly squeezing the bratwurst she was about to cook. Overcome with the spicy sensation, Bonnie unclasped the front of her bra, flooped one of her boobs out of her shirt, and immediately shoved her hands into her bag of flour. As Harold heard footsteps behind him, he looked back to see a very exposed version of his wife, sporting hands that looked like powdered donuts. "What are you doing?" Harold said in confusion. "I had a little wardrobe malfunction and my hands are too dirty from cooking. Can you help a poor girl out?" Bonnie said, slowly trailing a line of flour down her chin, trying to make a seductive face. Bonnie moaned as Harold wrestled her breast back into her underwire death trap. "Thank you, Mr. Soft Touch. Your hands are very warm," Bonnie said, licking her lips and making intense eye contact. "That's because I've been ironing," Harold replied. "I've been trying a new technique that takes twice the amount of time, but is said to increase the lifespan of your denims. Which reminds me, I need to get back to it. You only have so much time before you need to do a second press." As Harold resumed his ironing, Bonnie slowly made her way back to the kitchen to flirt with her bratwurst.
There you are, you meaty devil.
The rest of the evening was a continuation of the boob-flooping incident. Harold sneezed at Bonnie's sexy perfume, and every time Bonnie would purposely drop stuff to slowly bend over in front of him,
Oops.
Harold would just call her Butterfingers and laugh at his own joke. It wasn't until after dinner that Bonnie finally lost it. "Okay, what is it, Harold?" she yelled while slamming her fists on the table. "I flooped my boob out for you, I wore Saturday night panties, and I basically made love to the bratwurst all dinner. You didn't notice? Marcy told me that her daughter has been trying this thing called eating ass no crumbs. I don't even know what that is. Don't you think I'd like to experience eating ass no crumbs? I know you are a super crime fighter during the day, but I need you to bring some of the manness home with you at night." Harold slowly swallowed his bratwurst while starting to speak. "Don't even say anything," Bonnie interrupted. "Just go take your after-dinner jog and think about passion and my needs." Harold slipped off his house cardigan and put on his jogging cardigan as he made it out the door. As he began his jog, Harold's feet pounded the pavement and his thoughts flew. He replayed the action of the workday, the orgasm conversation, and the anger in Bonnie's voice. Up until this point, burying the emotions and thoughts from the workday was a great way of coping for Harold, but Bonnie's outburst pointed out the error in his ways. His odd coping mechanism was doing nothing but making his partner feel alone. The jog turned out to be a jog of discovery, as Harold vowed to turn over a new leaf and bring a little more danger to his personal life. But there was still the other thing: passion. It's been over a decade since Harold could say that he felt passion for anything other than justice. He closed his eyes, trying to tap into his primal part of himself. Images of past playboys and sex scenes from Angelina Jolie movies played in his head, as Harold conjured up all of the passion his body could muster. But it still wasn't enough. He couldn't just flip on a switch and be a horn dog. With his head hung low, Harold began to walk back. He could bring a new attitude home, but passion would just have to wait. As he made his way down North University Drive, he heard moans in the distance. Passionate, fiery, earth-shaking moans. Pinching himself, Harold realized that this was not his imagination, and that he was moving closer to the sound source. Partially curious, and partially hoping to take notes, Harold made his way towards the sound of fervent fornication. Harold held his hands over his mouth as the culprit was in view. There, on a free couch left on the curb, was a man making sweet, sweet love. He watched as the man's white ass bounced up and down, undoubtedly pleasing his partner. "Oh yeah, more cushion for the pushin'," the man yelled out to his mate. As much as Harold tried not to look in the direction of the scene, he had to look back one last time, but when he did, he grabbed more than just an eyeful of one loud man's ass cheeks. Upon further inspection, Harold could see no partner at all. The man had been passionately thrusting and making love to the cushions of a well-worn free couch. "What are you doing?" Harold asked the man. Startled and literally caught with his pants down, the man pulled out of the pullout and ran. In an instant, Harold could feel himself turning into Dirty Harry, and Dirty Harry was hard for justice. Harry chased the man all the way to an apartment, where the man got inside and locked himself away. The off-duty officer pulled out his phone and called the night crew to come take care of the sofa-sexing madman. "I know you're in your jogging cardigan, Dirty Harry, but do you want to help us take this guy down?" one of the night officers asked. "No thanks," the newly refound Harry replied. "I've got a romance to rekindle." Harry sprinted back to his home, busted through the door, and grabbed his wife tenderly. He began kissing her with the passion of an intern on their first day while caressing her body. "Let's take this party to the bedroom," Bonnie said, pulling her face away from Harold's. "No," Harold said. "We are doing it right here, right now, on the couch," he demanded, while carrying her off to the living room. In September of 2012, 46-year-old man, Gerard Streeter, was discovered fornicating with a free couch dumped on a curb in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Unfortunately for the man in his love seat, the man that discovered him was an off-duty police officer. The officer asked Streeter what he was doing, which led to a foot chase ending at Streeter's apartment. Calling his fellow officers, the police were able to get Streeter's name and have him arrested the very next day. 1 year later, Gerard Streeter appeared in court and pleaded guilty to one charge of public lewdness, gaining him a sentence of 5 months in jail. In the game of lovemaking, there are winners and there are losers. There are the people whose milkshake bring all the boys to the yard. There's the ones that keep it very vanilla. And there's the ones that can tell you a couch's brand, based solely off of how good they are for humping. Either way, like I said earlier, we don't kink shame here. I'm just pointing out how we are all different. I've looked at guitars that I've thought were sexy before. If I saw one of them on the side of the road, who knows? I just don't want to say something now that makes me look like a hypocrite later.
Hide your guitars, ladies and gents. Oh my God. Trevin, I was destroyed during that whole entire story.
Yeah, that was a difficult one.
Wow.
I did not proofread it or edit it after I wrote it. I was just like, we're going to go with it. I know I went a little bit overboard on things that weren't necessary to the story, but hey, we had fun.
No, they were necessary. I am here to argue that case. I loved it. I loved how you came full circle. You handled that so beautifully.
Thank you.
So a man was literally humping a free couch.
Yeah, just making love to it. And apparently what they said, he was actually making sexy noises while doing it.
Wow. You hear of those shows like My Strange Addiction. I watched one episode where a guy was in love with his car. And he said that, yeah, he would make sweet, sweet love to his automobile. Like it was a real thing.
I remember seeing something on that, yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess this is a real thing, but again, with one of your stories, what are the chances that the two combined?
Right. Anybody else could have seen that and probably not said anything or just looked the other way or ran away, something like that. But this guy's like, you're in trouble and I'm not even working.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if I saw something like this, I would probably freak out because I dramatize everything in life. So maybe a person like me would have called somebody. But
Molly.
Yeah. But the fact that it was an off-duty police officer, oh, God.
Yeah. Sometimes when we get these stories, we like to think of where we're going to tell it from, whose perspective. And usually if we're going to tell it from the victim's perspective, sometimes we have nothing to go off of and we just tell our own story. And the crime still plays a huge part in it. Like if I was going to tell that story from his perspective, I don't know how.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how to tell that story.
That's
he was
true.
in walking distance from it. So I assume that he could have either saw it on his way home and been like, oh, my word, or something. I don't think I put this in the story, but when the cops had came back and figured out which apartment was his wife answered the apartment door. So I didn't actually put that in the story. I guess I probably should have. So the cops had to show up and be like, your husband was seen last night humping a free couch on the side of the road.
Whoa, so they didn't even come back until the next day?
Yeah, in the story I had to like kind of fast forward a little bit. But yeah, he saw the apartment and I guess from what I understand, he explained what the dude looked like, and then they got with the cops. The cops talked to the apartment building, and they're like, that only fits this description. It's probably this dude.
So they can't even do a toxicology report. Like, we don't even know if this guy was under the influence of something?
No, we don't know. And from the way they made it sound, it seemed like he was probably a normal dude. I don't think he was a real weirdo who was known for humping couches.
Yeah. I think if this was a thing, then the article would have been a little different. Like, man cannot stop himself from humping couches in public.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this was just a thing. So I'm like, did this guy just get super wasted, walk home, and somehow this escalated on a couch? I don't know. It still doesn't make it normal or okay. Whoa, how did that happen? And I agree. I think it would be really weird to even tell the story from his side. So I'm glad you didn't do that. I loved the way you did it. It was so good.
Like, the sex scene itself would have been really fun to do, because just talking about like the cushions, trying to talk about a couch in a sexy way, but the lead up didn't really work. And I love sometimes throwing in the mystery of what's he gonna do.
Yeah. And
it wasn't even him, but he did find passion through mixing his real life with his job.
Damn. I just loved that whole scene with the flower and the bosom. I mean, I'm sure Emily has lots of flower up there, Trevin.
Oh, are you trying to say that I got this idea inspired by something?
If not inspired, it should become a new thing, is all I'm saying. Okay, so I also have a story this week. I'm not sure if it'll be quite as sexy,
Okay.
but maybe. I don't know.
Anything's possible on our show.
Very true. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump right in. It is another story from the news, and here we go. There is a well-known quote about dancing that says, "Take more chances, dance more dances." And although it sounds cornier each and every time it is repeated, many of us find it to be a fun and relatable piece of writing. Whether you are a breakdancer, a classically trained ballerina, or someone who awkwardly shrugs their shoulders off beat, getting caught up in the movement of dance can happen to anyone. Today's story is about one dancer's dilemma and a petty performance of a lifetime. Now take your seats and enjoy the show before the spotlight turns to you. Amy Harrington was born to dance. At least, that's what her mother told the doctor the day of Amy's birth.
She was born to dance, you know.
From that day on, Amy was trained to become a dancer. She was enrolled in a variety of dance classes as soon as she could, trading in her crib for choreo and pacifiers for point shoes. She spent her entire childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood in the dance studio, perfecting her craft. It was also something Amy's mother enjoyed, as she was known to perform every one of Amy's routines from the comfort of her seat in the audience. It was true that Amy was an elegant dancer, but the years of pressure from her coaches and dance mom had weighed on her. This caused Amy to use her talents as a crutch, relying on them when navigating a life challenge. She leapt over unnecessary drama, spun circles around others' opinions of her,
You call that a dance? Whoa.
and foxtrotted through the everyday bullshit. But by the age of 38, Amy had grown tired of the same old routine and traded in her pirouettes for partying. This was particularly true on a humid April night in Madeira Beach, Florida during 2022. Amy met up with some friends at a new club, and the alcohol was flowing. After multiple rounds of shots and violent twerking, Amy was ready to call it a night. But instead of calling a rideshare service or sleeping it off on the dance floor, Amy did the unthinkable. She drove home. Immediately upon entering her vehicle, she knew she shouldn't be behind the wheel. She had really thrown her neck out while twerking and was worried about her range of motion when looking both ways. Also, she was extremely intoxicated. Amy rolled her head around a few times and started up her engine. Driving down the busy boulevard, her vision was blurry at best. She had only made it a short distance when Amy rear-ended the vehicle in front of her. Oh, shit! That car came out of nowhere! Amy slurred to herself. She slumped back into her seat, bummed out by the delay this caused, when she saw a person in the car ahead of her, on their phone with someone. Hey, don't worry about calling the cops. Amy tried to reassure the person she rear-ended. I will pay for all of this. But it was too late. Authorities were already on their way to the crash scene. It didn't take long for Deputy Stoic and her partner, Officer Callis, to notice Amy's glassy eyes, slurred speech, and general vibe of drunkenness. It It was also no surprise when Amy refused to use their breathalyzer machine.
No way, pig.
This left everyone with one last option: a field sobriety test. The officers moved the commotion to a desolate apartment parking lot. It was the perfect location for a sobriety test, with minimal onlookers and already existing straight parking lines painted on the black cement. Deputy Stodik ordered Amy to take her place at one end of the straight line, saying, "I'm going to need you to walk the line, stepping heel to toe. Do you understand these directions?" Amy stumbled to the end of the line, responding with, "Yeah, I understand, but I think it's ridiculous." With Officer Callis's body cam rolling, Amy began to walk the line, starting off strong. But after 4 solid steps, her feet crisscrossed, causing her to step off the straight path. Instead of collecting herself or starting over, Amy had another solution: to dance. Using her drunken misstep as the starting point, Amy's feet quickly improv'd an Irish jig. The river dance continued to pick up the pace as she spun around and proceeded to stomp her feet rapidly on the hard ground. Then, without warning, the dance slowed. Amy stepped into first position, transforming into an inebriated ballerina, delicately lifting her arms above her head one at a time, only to release them back down together while spinning. When she realized she had danced her way to the end of the line, Amy gathered her balance and posed. Deputy Stoic, however, was not impressed with her performance, only stating, "That was not the exercise given," as feedback. "Ugh, you sound like my fucking ballet coach," Amy snarled back as she shuffled her feet back to the start of the painted line. Almost like deja vu, Amy again drunkenly danced her way towards the deputy. After many hair flips, twirls, and stomps, Amy gave her final performance pose.
Ta-da!
But instead of getting the expected applause, Amy was placed under arrest. On April 27, 2022, 38-year-old Amy Harrington rear-ended another vehicle along Gulf Boulevard and Madeira Beach, Florida. Shortly before 10:30 p.m., officers were called to the scene to find an inebriated Amy behind the wheel. After refusing a breathalyzer, a field sobriety test was initiated in a nearby parking lot. What started as a normal test quickly evolved into a drunken dance performance, where Amy stumbled through both traditional Irish dancing and ballet. After the failed dance routines, Amy was ultimately charged with a DUI with property damage and refusal to submit to testing. Dancing may sound like a fun way to express your emotions or exercise your body, but it is important to remember the time and place for it. Not everyone is an ideal audience member, and not every surface is meant to be stomped on. This rings especially true when in the middle of a sobriety test. So I'll leave you all with an updated quote from me to you. Take more chances. Dance more dances. Unless you're drunk, then please sit down.
Honestly, I think we could all follow that. Whether it's dances or just talking.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? This is the time where you just zip it. Mm-hmm. Before I really get into the convo about how you feel about this, I did want to say, which I kind of told you while I was reading along, all of those quotes and interactions and basically every single thing that happened as soon as the rear ending happened, that was all exactly what was said to have happened in all the articles that I read. Those were all quotes that were confirmed by the officers and on the film. And yeah, the whole entire thing is caught on body camera and it's on YouTube for all to see.
I can see why you did the stoic and callous as the name of the cops.
Yeah.
So if somebody was dancing for me, I wouldn't be like, no, that was not the assignment. I'd be like, that's cute. But no.
No, Trevin, thank you for saying that, because I do want to add on to that just to even further prove that point. There's a lot of videos where it's just like clips, but I watched like the full body cam thing because I wanted to see, come on, this is kind of freaking funny. Did these people not break once,
Right.
But no, the cameraman, not once. There was never a giggle. There was never even an under the breath, like, oh my God, there was like nothing.
Like, this is the best work day ever.
No, he was just recording it, adjusting the camera was the only background sound from him. And I am telling you, the female officer who I gave her the name Deputy Stoic, they didn't list any of their names. She was so serious. When the gal posed at the end of the routines, I would have lost my shit. Which we all know this. I obviously should not be a police officer because of this. To just be so serious, I had to give them something.
Yeah, we'll have to steal that YouTube video and use it for a couple things or something.
Oh my God.
I want to see this pirouette.
Oh my God. And I'm not exaggerating either about the dancing. I counted. It was 4 steps walking the line. And as soon as she would fall off every time, because she did it multiple times throughout the video, as soon as she would crisscross or fall, she was like, and started going and changing it. It was like a cover up, right? Like she's like, I didn't stumble, I'm dancing, da, da, da. And she would kind of just go into this jig and then she would stop. And it was ballet.
I like that it changed up.
Oh, it was a full-on thing. And it went the same both times it happened, too. Started off with Irish stomping and turned into a more delicate ballet with a pose at the end every time.
You know what that made me think of? It made me think a lot of Ashley Simpson.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember that? When she was on SNL?
Oh, when she was caught lip singing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the voice started at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So she's like getting ready to be like, and with her mouth open, just like, and one thing. And she just has this look. And in the moment of embarrassment, she just starts doing an Irish jig. So the band's playing and the music's going on, but she's just like, like dancing around the stage. And I think they eventually faded it out and let it go.
I'm going to have to rewatch it because I remember that. I think I may have even watched that live. I don't know for sure, but I remember it regardless. I haven't watched that in years. You're telling me that Ashley Simpson does an Irish jig out of embarrassment?
Yep.
Wow.
Like, doesn't know what to do in that split second, no idea how to react. And it's just like, Irish jig, go. That's what it made me think of. It's like she embarrassed herself being drunk, and maybe her and Ashley Simpson are both like Virgos or something. That's like a Virgo thing that you break out into Irish jigs when you're like embarrassed.
But any Virgos out there want to let us know? My God.
I'm just thinking there must be something that they have in common that leads a person back to reacting in this way.
Their Irish dancing roots? I know. I don't know. But I think you might be onto something. And wow, I think we need to do an Ashley Simpson video alongside this girl. We need to get to the bottom of it.
I would love to see that. Who wore it better sort of thing.
Whew.
Well, this has been a very fun and odd episode.
As always, Trevin, that really just sums up our show right there. But yes, it has been a particularly fun one and odd one. Connections, Trevin? Oh God, let's think.
Yeah, I feel like we don't have a connection here.
Because you didn't even really give your police officer like a silly nickname or anything.
It was
right?
Dirty Harry.
Oh, okay. We got Dirty Harry. We got Deputy Stoic. We got Officer Callus.
So, okay, we all had serious cops in it. Like, my guy was a serious cop when he was on the job.
Yeah, that's true.
So, hard-ass serious cops.
I guess. That's the best I can come up with at this moment.
Yeah, it's not even a connection you'd brag about. Like, if someone's like, oh, what did Live, Laugh, Larson do this week? And it's like, oh, they had 2 stories about hard-ass cops. Wow.
What the hell?
You're skipping the dancing and the weird couch sex, but okay, let's go with hard cops.
Okay, how about behaving really weird in public? That's another one.
Okay. Hey, I'll take it.
I don't know. That one seems more fun.
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll do that. Yeah.
So I hope that everyone is having the best week. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to fornicate with furniture.
Bye.
See ya.
Anyone else out there speak to their plants? I hope I'm not alone, and I appreciate you listening to our show this week.
Do you use Facebook Marketplace as furniture porn? Well, why don't you get off the Marketplace tab and follow us on Facebook and any other social, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Live, Laugh, Larceny.
And have you ever caught the dancing bug in a very inappropriate time? Please send us your petty dance story to livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And give our show 5 stars anywhere you give podcast reviews, Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods. Give us the review that Amanda's kids would give the Casey Aquarium.
Oh, shit! That card came out of nowhere!
That works. Very funny drunk voice.
It kind of sounded like Sarah Palin.
Yeah, I can see it.
Question mark?
I too turn into Sarah Palin when I get drunk.